Listen carefully, not with your ears, but with that quiet place inside you that still believes something greater is possible. Before you clicked this, there was a pause you couldn't explain, a hesitation, a pull. That was not random. There are moments when heaven does not shout. It waits. It watches who will stop long enough to listen. This is one of those moments. You have been walking through days that look ordinary on the outside, but inside you've been carrying a weight no one sees. Questions you don't speak out loud. Prayers you stopped finishing because you were tired of hoping. Yet somehow, you're still here. Still breathing. Still searching. That alone tells me something about you. Tonight is not just another night. There is a narrow window, so precise it can only be described as intentional. A moment set before you were ever aware you would need it. And the reason this message reached you now is because your spirit recognized the timing before your mind did. Archangel Michael does not come for entertainment. He comes when alignment is fragile, and destiny is close. You were meant to receive something that does not look like what you imagined, but carries the power to change the direction of your life quietly, permanently, and unmistakably. For a long time, you felt like things were delayed. As if doors were almost opening, then closing again. As if you were standing one step away from breakthrough, but something invisible kept holding you back. That invisible barrier was not punishment. It was preparation. Because what is being transferred cannot be placed into unready hands. There are things you lost that you still don't understand. Opportunities that vanished. People who walked away. Plans that collapsed at the last moment. You blamed yourself. You replayed conversations. You wondered if you missed your chance. You didn't. You were protected. Some paths had to close so that tonight would remain possible. At 8:15 p.m., there is a shift, not loud, not dramatic, not something the world will announce. It happens in the unseen first. That's how all real change begins. This is not about money falling from the sky or miracles that impress strangers. This is about authority being restored, direction being clarified, peace replacing confusion, strength returning where exhaustion lived. A divine transfer does not always arrive as something added. Sometimes it arrives as something lifted. Fear, delay, self-doubt, old agreements you made with survival instead of purpose. Those are being challenged tonight. But hear this clearly, because this matters more than anything else I will say. Ignoring this moment does not cancel what you were meant for. It postpones it into a future that may not open the same way again. Timing is not pressure. It is invitation. You are not being forced. You are being trusted. Michael stands where courage meets obedience. He guards thresholds, moments where one decision quietly separates, almost, from fulfilled. You didn't arrive here by scrolling randomly. You arrived here because something in you is still willing to believe that your story is not over, not small, not forgotten. Take a breath. Notice how your chest feels right now. That heaviness you've been carrying. That sense that something has been missing. That's the space being made. Before this night ends, you will understand why certain battles were harder than they should have been. Why resistance increased right before clarity. Why you felt tested when you were already tired. Pressure always increases before transfer. Stay present. Not anxious. Not afraid. Just present. This message is not the end. It is the door. And what comes next will require your attention, because what you do with this moment determines how the next chapter begins. Do not rush away. Do not minimize this. There is more to be revealed. There is something you need to understand now, something most people never realize until the moment has already passed. Not every blessing announces itself as a blessing. Some arrive disguised as interruptions. Some arrive as discomfort. Some arrive as a quiet inner nudge that says, Stay a little longer, don't scroll, don't look away yet. What you are feeling right now is not curiosity, it is recognition. Your spirit remembers something your mind forgot. For weeks, maybe months, you have been operating on endurance instead of joy. You did what had to be done. You showed up. You stayed strong for others. But inside, there was a silent question repeating, how long like this? That question was heard. Archangel Michael does not respond to noise. He responds to sincerity. There are contracts in the unseen realm, agreements formed through fear, through past disappointment, through words you spoke over yourself when you were hurt. This is just how my life is. Nothing ever changes for me. I'll settle. Those words mattered more than you knew. And tonight, at a very specific moment, those contracts are being reviewed. This is why timing matters. 8:15 p.m. is not symbolic. It is strategic. It represents a crossing point, where resistance weakens and permission increases, where what has been circling your life finally finds an opening. But here is the part most people miss. Transfers require awareness. Not effort. Not striving. Awareness. You don't receive what you chase. You receive what you are ready to hold without fear. And fear has been the final gatekeeper. You've been brave in obvious ways, but hesitant in the hidden ones. Afraid to fully believe. Afraid to expect too much. Afraid of being disappointed again. That hesitation is understandable, but it cannot come with you into what is next. Michael's presence is not gentle reassurance. It is steady authority. It says, stand upright. You are not late. You are not weak. You are not overlooked. Something that was blocked is being reassigned. Something that was delayed is being released. Something that felt out of reach is being repositioned closer than you think. But only if you remain present. Distraction is the oldest way destiny is stolen, not taken, just quietly missed. This is not about staring at a clock or performing a ritual. It is about alignment. About choosing not to dismiss this moment as coincidence. Because the truth is, many people will hear a message like this tonight. Very few will take it seriously, and fewer still will stay open long enough to receive what follows. You are still here. That matters. In the next part, what is being transferred, and why it was held back until now, will become clearer. Do not rush. Do not second guess. You are closer than you think. What is being prepared for you is not random, and it is not small. It has weight. That is why it did not arrive when you were desperate for it. Desperation attracts substitutes. Readiness attracts the real thing. There was a season when receiving this would have broken you. You would have questioned it, feared it, or sabotaged it without realizing why. So it was held back, not from you, but for you. You have changed, quietly, painfully, honestly. You learned how to stand alone without becoming bitter. You learned how to wait without becoming numb. You learned how to lose without letting loss define you. That is why the atmosphere around your life feels different now. You may not have words for it, but something feels closer. As if the air itself is charged with expectation. That's not imagination. Archangel Michael stands where confusion ends. He separates what is false from what is real. What no longer belongs cannot follow you beyond this point. Tonight's transfer is not about giving you something new to chase. It is about restoring something that was always yours. Clarity where there was fog. Authority where there was hesitation. Peace where there was constant inner noise. You will notice it subtly at first. A thought that no longer spirals. A fear that no longer grips. A decision that suddenly feels obvious instead of heavy. This is how true shifts begin. Do not expect fireworks. Expect alignment. What has been draining you will lose its grip. What has been confusing you will lose its power. What has been resisting you will no longer recognize the version of you that emerges after this moment. You are not waiting on the future. The future is adjusting itself to you. Stay still. Stay aware. The next part will reveal what must not be done tonight, because one mistake, often made without realizing it, is what causes people to miss everything they were meant to receive. Now listen, this is where many people lose what was meant for them, without ever realizing it. Not because they are unworthy, not because they did something wrong, but because they return too quickly to the noise. Tonight is fragile in a powerful way. After moments like this, the mind rushes back in. It starts analyzing, questioning, minimizing, telling you, this was just a video. Don't take it so seriously. That voice is not wisdom, it is habit. And habits protect the familiar, even when the familiar is what has kept you stuck. What must not happen tonight is dismissal. Do not laugh this off. Do not explain it away. Do not tell yourself you'll think about it later. Later is where clarity goes to fade. You don't need to do anything dramatic. You don't need to announce anything. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You only need to remain inwardly still when the moment arrives. Because when the transfer happens, it will feel almost quiet, like something clicking into place, like relief without explanation, like strength returning without effort. If you rush to fill that quiet with distraction, you won't lose the blessing, but you will delay its manifestation. Michael's role is not to force outcomes. It is to guard openings, and openings close when they are ignored. This is why your attention matters more than your belief. You don't have to be certain. You don't have to understand everything. You only have to respect the moment enough to not trample it. Tonight, choose awareness over distraction, presence over impulse, stillness over noise. Something has already begun shifting, and what comes next will confirm it, if you are paying attention. After the moment passes, many people expect to feel something dramatic. They wait for a surge, a sign, a rush of emotion, and when that doesn't happen, they assume nothing changed. That assumption is the final illusion. The deepest shifts are not emotional, they are directional. You may wake up tomorrow and notice that a decision you've been avoiding no longer feels heavy. A conversation you feared no longer feels threatening. A path you kept doubting suddenly feels clear. That is the transfer working forward through time. Archangel Michael does not remove every challenge. He removes the confusion about who you are in the middle of them. What once felt like pressure will feel like purpose. What once felt like delay will feel like timing. What once felt like struggle will feel like training finally making sense. This is how authority returns. Not by changing the world around you instantly, but by changing how the world responds to you. People will begin to treat you differently without knowing why. Opportunities will appear without forcing. Resistance will weaken where it once felt immovable. And you will realize something quietly, almost unexpectedly. You are no longer negotiating with fear. That alone changes everything. Do not measure tonight by what you feel in the moment. Measure it by what no longer controls you afterward. The transfer is not something you hold. It is something you become. And once it settles, there is no returning to the version of you that lived in constant doubt. Stay aware. The final confirmations are closer than you think. There is one final truth you need to hear, because it explains why this message feels personal, almost uncomfortably specific. Not everyone was meant to hear this. Many will scroll past it. Some will listen for a minute, then leave. Others will hear the words but feel nothing at all. That is not failure. It is selection. Moments like this are not broadcast to everyone in the same way. They are filtered through readiness, through endurance, through how much a soul has already survived without giving up. You are still here because you have carried more than most people know. You kept going when motivation disappeared. You stayed kind when life gave you reasons not to be. You didn't harden, even when it would have been easier. That mattered. Archangel Michael does not stand beside the strongest on the surface. He stands beside those who chose integrity when no one was watching. The transfer tonight is not only for what you will receive, it is for what you will protect. Clarity will come so you don't walk into traps disguised as shortcuts. Strength will come so you don't shrink when it's time to stand firm. Discernment will come so you don't mistake attention for alignment. You are entering a phase where not everything offered to you is meant for you, and you will know the difference. That knowing will feel calm, unforced, grounded, no rush, no panic, no confusion. This is how you will recognize that the shift was real. You will move slower, but with certainty. Speak less, but with impact. Choose carefully, without fear of missing out. Because you are no longer chasing what was never yours. You are walking toward what has been waiting. The final part will bring this together, not with promises, but with perspective, so you can step forward without doubt. Here is the perspective that completes everything you've heard so far. Nothing is being taken from you, only returned to its proper order. You spent a long time thinking you were behind, when in reality, you were being rerouted. You thought you were losing ground, when you were actually being positioned where distractions could no longer reach you. That is why some people fell away. That is why certain doors closed without explanation. That is why paths you tried to force refused to open. It wasn't rejection. It was precision. Archangel Michael does not repair chaos by adding more movement. He restores balance by removing what destabilizes you. The reason this moment feels subtle is because the greatest changes don't announce themselves, they reveal themselves over time. You will notice it in how you respond instead of react, in how you trust yourself without needing constant validation, in how you no longer feel the need to explain your journey to people who never walked it. This is maturity of spirit, and maturity attracts what effort never could. What is coming next in your life will not require you to prove yourself. It will recognize you. You will not need to convince. You will not need to chase. You will not need to compromise. You will simply arrive, and things will make sense. Remember this when doubts try to return. Doubt always speaks loudest after it has lost control. Let it pass. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are not imagining this. You are aligned. And alignment changes everything, quietly, completely, and right on time. After alignment, there is always a test, but not the kind you fear. It is not loss. It is not struggle. It is not punishment. It is confirmation. Life will offer you something familiar again. A pattern. A reaction. A situation that once pulled you into anxiety, overthinking, or self-doubt. This time, it will feel different. Not harder, lighter. You will notice a pause where panic used to be. A choice where impulse once ruled. A calm refusal where you once would have explained yourself endlessly. That pause is power. That is how you'll know the shift was real. Archangel Michael's influence is recognized not by force, but by restraint. You will no longer feel the need to fight every battle or prove every point. Some things will simply lose their importance. And in that loss, you gain space for what actually belongs to you. Expect clarity to arrive in pieces, not all at once. A thought here, a conversation there. A sudden understanding that changes how you see a past wound. Healing doesn't erase memory. It repositions it. What once defined you will become something you reference, not relive. You are stepping into a phase where your energy becomes selective, where access to you becomes intentional, where peace is no longer negotiable. This is not isolation. This is alignment maturing. Stay aware, not alert. Not tense, just aware. The final movements are already underway. There is one more layer to this shift that many people overlook, and it explains why things may feel slower before they feel easier. When alignment locks in, momentum recalibrates. You may notice a brief stillness, a sense that nothing is happening on the surface. This is not delay, it is synchronization. Like gears lining up before motion becomes effortless. Do not interrupt this phase with impatience. Rushing now would only pull you back into old patterns where effort replaced trust. Archangel Michael's presence brings order before expansion. First stability, then growth. You are being anchored so that what comes next does not overwhelm you. This is why your priorities will begin to simplify. What once felt urgent will feel optional. What once consumed your thoughts will lose its grip. You will feel less pressure to perform and more confidence to proceed. That shift is rare. It means you are no longer driven by fear of loss, but guided by clarity of direction. People may not immediately understand the calm you carry. Some may interpret it as distance, others as confidence. Let them. You don't need to correct their perception. Your path is not a debate. The stillness will not last long, but it must be respected. Because after this recalibration, movement returns with purpose, not chaos. And when it does, you will be ready. What follows alignment is responsibility. Not burden, responsibility. You will begin to notice that your words carry more weight, that your decisions ripple further than before, that people listen differently when you speak, even when you say very little. This is not coincidence. Authority has a frequency, and once you step into it, life responds accordingly. Be mindful, not fearful. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to be honest with yourself. The moment you stop betraying your own clarity, confusion loses its hold. You may feel called to release something soon, a habit, a connection, a role you've outgrown. It won't feel dramatic. It will feel necessary. Like setting something down that you were never meant to carry this far. Trust that instinct. You are no longer being shaped by pressure. You are being guided by precision. And precision always feels calm. What is unfolding now does not need validation. It needs patience. Let it breathe. Let it settle. Let it reveal itself naturally. You have crossed a line you cannot uncross. From this point forward, things may look familiar, but they will never function the same way again. You are no longer moving blindly. You are moving with sight. Soon, you will realize that something subtle has changed in how you see time. You will stop feeling chased by it. Moments will slow when they need to. Decisions will arrive before urgency forces them. You will sense when to move, and when not to, and both will feel equally powerful. This is mastery, not control. You are stepping out of survival mode. And when survival ends, clarity begins. The mind that once raced ahead to protect you will learn to rest. Not because danger disappeared, but because discernment replaced fear. You will trust your instincts again. Not the loud ones. The quiet ones. The ones that don't argue. The ones that don't panic. The ones that simply know. This is how guidance feels when it's aligned. You may notice that certain questions stop repeating. The ones that haunted you at night. The ones that drained your energy without answers. They will dissolve, not because they were answered, but because they are no longer relevant. You outgrew them. This is the mark of a true shift, when old doubts can't survive in the presence of new clarity. You won't need to announce this change. You won't need to explain it. You will live it. And those meant to recognize it, will. As this settles, you may feel an unexpected sense of separation, not from people, but from old versions of yourself. Thought patterns you once identified with will feel distant. Reactions that once felt automatic will feel unnecessary. You may even wonder how you carried certain fears for so long. This is not loss. This is release. You are not becoming someone new. You are returning to who you were before doubt taught you to shrink. There will be moments when you pause and realize you are no longer bracing for impact, no longer waiting for something to go wrong, no longer rehearsing defenses in your mind. That absence of tension is the evidence. Archangel Michael's influence leaves clarity behind, not confusion. When something is aligned, it does not demand your energy, it supports it. You will move through situations with less resistance. Conversations will resolve more quickly. Choices will simplify. Not because life got easier, but because you got clearer. Hold on to that clarity gently. Don't grip it. Don't question it. Let it guide without pressure. This is not a peak moment. It is a foundation. And everything built on clarity stands stronger than anything built on fear. Now you will begin to understand why silence became important in your life, why you were pulled away from constant noise, why solitude stopped feeling lonely and started feeling necessary. Silence is not emptiness, it is refinement. In this quiet, your discernment sharpens. You sense what is misaligned before it reaches you. You recognize truth without needing proof. You feel when something carries weight, and when it is merely distraction. This is how protection works at higher levels. Archangel Michael's presence does not surround you with walls. It strengthens your awareness so danger no longer feels attractive, and confusion no longer feels familiar. You will notice how quickly your body responds now. Tension will appear as a signal, not a trap. Calm will arrive as confirmation, not coincidence. Listen to those signals. They are not random feelings. They are guidance learned through experience. You have earned this stage, not through perfection, but through persistence. There will be moments ahead when you are tempted to return to old urgency, old explanations, old compromises. When that happens, remember how peace feels right now. Peace is not passive. It is precise. You are not meant to rush what is now unfolding. What is aligned moves at the speed of certainty, and certainty does not shout. It waits, confident that you will recognize it when it arrives. This is where everything settles into place. Not with noise, not with proof, but with knowing. You will look back at this moment, not immediately, but one day soon, and realize this was the point where the inner struggle ended, where you stopped asking for permission to become who you already were. Nothing dramatic had to happen on the outside for something permanent to shift within. That is the signature of true alignment. You will move forward with fewer explanations and more intention, with less urgency and more accuracy, with a calm that does not depend on circumstances behaving perfectly. What once felt fragile inside you will feel steady now. You are no longer preparing for life. You are participating in it. The path ahead will not always be easy, but it will be clear. And clarity removes the fear of choosing wrong, because you trust yourself to adjust when needed. That trust is the gift, not something added to you, something restored. You were never meant to live in constant anticipation of loss. You were meant to move with confidence that what is truly yours cannot miss you. This moment did not change your destiny. It aligned you with it. And alignment, once established, does not disappear. It becomes the ground you stand on, quiet, solid, and unmistakably yours. From here on, life will not feel louder, it will feel clearer. You won't need signs stacked on top of signs. You won't need constant reassurance. You will recognize alignment by how little resistance you feel inside when you move forward. This is how you know the shift stayed. You will stop waiting for permission. Stop shrinking your desires to feel safe. Stop questioning whether you're allowed to want more. Because something deep has settled, you are not asking anymore. You are responding. Responding to clarity. Responding to inner steadiness. Responding to a quiet confidence that does not rush, does not beg, does not fear being taken away. There will still be challenges, but they will no longer define you. They will refine you. You will meet them with presence instead of panic, with patience instead of pressure. And when doubt tries to return, as it sometimes does, you will recognize it instantly, like an old voice that no longer has authority. You are not who you were when fear led the way. You are standing in a new position now, one where your steps are deliberate, your boundaries are natural, your direction is clear. Nothing needs to be proven. Nothing needs to be forced. What was meant for you is no longer trying to reach you. It has already begun walking with you. And from this point forward, you move, not hoping something will change, but knowing that it already has. There will come a quiet moment, unexpected, ordinary, when you realize you are no longer asking, "What if?" You are simply moving. That is how you'll know this has become permanent. The future will stop feeling like a distant place you must reach, and start feeling like a current you are already in. You won't chase certainty anymore. You will recognize it when it arrives, because it feels steady, not urgent. This is the final seal of alignment. You will trust your timing. You will trust your pauses. You will trust your yes, and your no, equally. What once required constant effort will begin to flow with structure. What once felt fragile will feel grounded. You will no longer confuse intensity with truth. Truth feels calm. From here, your life will not unfold in leaps. It will unfold in steps that make sense when you stand in them. And even when you don't see the full path, you will feel secure taking the next one. That security is not external. It lives in you now. And because of that, nothing meaningful can be taken from you, not rushed away, not delayed beyond its time, not lost in confusion. You are no longer waiting at the edge of something. You are walking within it, quietly, confidently, aligned.